I felt like a rat on a treadmill inside of an aquarium with the water rising. And I'm like, just trying to grasp for air. And I'm like, this is not the picture Justin wants for the next 20 years of his life. Something's got to give.
Welcome to Confessions of an Implementer. I'm your host, Ryan Hogan. We share unique stories of EOS implementers and the companies they've transformed to give you a rare glimpse into the successes and challenges of the system in action. Let's jump in. You're somewhat of a celebrity. Like you are everywhere. Every time I turn on LinkedIn, every time I talk to somebody, like your name comes up constantly. So
I'm sorry to hear about that. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah. You just like, and the one thing that is like consistent is your energy. Like you're like the energy, like it's like you and Scott Rusnak. Like you both just have never ending energy.
Next level, dude. That's a whole, man. If you put me even close to that category, I'd be like, dang, you need to see some reality. Rusnak is next level. That's for sure.
I love it. Well, thanks for taking the time to jump on and share your story. And, you know, I think a big part of this is really just figuring out who you are. And I had this like lead in question of like, who is Justin Maust? But one thing that came up during, I don't know, green room, whatever we call it here, was the board behind you. And like, talk to me. You were the first person, like not just on a podcast, something like that. Like you're the first person I've ever talked to that behind you had a vision board and like it's custom and you put it together. So talk to me about that.
So listen, you know, we believe in vision at EOS. We have this VTO, Vision Traction Organizer. And so I'm a visual guy and I'm an emoter. I need to be freaking jacked about my life, freaking jacked about the direction I'm going. And so I don't really care what anybody else thinks. This is my room. This is my space, right? So I've got to make sure I'm fueling Justin Maust to live and breathe the way he feels called to live and breathe. So I'm a faith-based guy, but I needed to see vision. So I'm just going to kind of take you, right? I'll take you through a little journey. So my wife and I run on EOS, EOS Lite. Like it's not perfected, but we do have our own little passion statement. We want to obey God. We want to love people. We want to live generously. And so I've got a favorite verse for that. And then over here, I've got kind of like down here, I've got my passion. Like this is my company passion statement. Everything I do, Ryan, I want to bless people. I get jacked about growing companies. Don't put me in a room with people that don't want to grow something. If you don't want to grow something, I'm not your guy. And then I want to fund ministry. So that's all from top left to bottom right. This is deeply personal. I'm on a personal mission. And so these three guys, this is like, they're like guys heads in a cloud, right? But they're all in their 80s or 90s. This was Stanley Tam. He just passed away at 107 years old.
Wow.
He gave $160 million to fund the ministry that he was passionate about. Then you have Truett Cathy, CEO, founder of Chick-fil-A. And then you have David Green, my latest mentor. He's the founder of Hobby Lobby. Started with a $600 loan out of his garage, paid his kids 7 cents to make a picture frame. That turned into 1,000 Hobby Lobby stores. So I just want to recognize that these guys put their pants on the same way I do. And yet he runs a $10 billion enterprise or something crazy like that. And they give 50% of their profits away. So this is like the Justin reminder of, hey, it's possible. Like stay open to what could happen. And then over here, I've got a picture of my brother. He's running a nonprofit that I've been passionate about for years. And then my family, my dad and my son-in-law, they're running a mission that I'm passionate about. So this is just a reminder that I want to be about something bigger than me. It's got to be bigger than me, Ryan. It's got to be. And then this is like a faith rocket, because literally I want to go beyond what I think is possible. I want to redline my life. I want to run in such a way as to win the prize. And so I've got like the faith bomb has hit me, and we all have these big targets, and so I just want to run and I want to get after it. So that's like a constant reminder for Justin. And the truth is, in there is some hidden numbers, but you got to be willing to like have a target, but when you need to pivot, it's okay to pivot. And so the crazy thing about this vision board is this was an 8.5 year journey, and I was 18 months away from my 10-year target. And I was burnt out. I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted, and I was becoming the person I didn't want to become because I was striving to make my target become reality, and I had to pivot. And so I don't give up on goals. Like, that is not the DNA of Justin Maust, is give up on goals. But everyone surrounding me was like, Justin, you're burning out. This thing is going to kill you. Stop running so hard. You're going to run yourself into a wall. And I disregarded it for like 6 years. And then it finally hit me, and I'm like, whew, this is too much. Great dream. Great dream. I'm not giving up on me being a generous person, but I've pivoted because I think my unique calling, my mission is actually speaking, training, and coaching. It's not to become one of these amazing business giants. And so you can try to adopt someone else's dream, and it can bury you. And so I have this because I love this stuff, but you're catching me at a spot in my life where there's been a massive pivot within the last year, last 9 months. I've sold 2 of my companies. I've whittled down to like, what is my unique ability? What is my gift to the world? And I am here to ignite and fuel people with tools and disciplines to succeed. That's what I do. And I might not ever create something amazing like what those 3 people created and have the ability to have the affluence like what they had. But I can tell you what, I'm giving it everything I got to ignite and fuel people with a simple set of tools and disciplines to help them freaking crush whatever their dreams and goals are.
I love that.
I'm in the middle of recreating another 10-year target that fits Justin Maust even better. And I love what John Maxwell says. He goes, listen, there's going to be pivots in your life, and you got to forget what's behind you, and you got to make the pivot, set a new target, and keep on going with the same steam you had before.
Yep.
That's Confessions of an Implementer right there, baby.
That's like right out of the gate. And by the you and I talked, I think it was about 9 months ago. And we talked on the phone, and you were literally like, I'm going through the biggest transition. Call me back in like 6 to 9 months. Cause I'm going through the biggest transition of my life right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It was huge. I was burnt. Like, I'm rarely burnt out. When I say burnt out, like literally going, something is really not working. I've been tired a lot because I run hard. So tired is different than burnt. You can be tired and still be like taking it all in stride, like working hard tired. But burnt out tired, that's where it's dangerous. That's where it's unhealthy. That's where you're not winning. That's where you become kind of the person you don't want to be, whether it's at home or at work, or you start, your mindset messes with you. And so then I just recognized, honestly, Ryan, I just had to surrender the whole thing to God. It was like, what's going on? Yeah. And so that whole transition, I'm a faith-based guy. So, I don't know what everybody else does to how they solve their burnt issues, but for me, I have to take it to God.
What does that look like from you talked a little bit about the transition from tired to burnt, and like the consistency or the other places that started seeping in. Like, if a founder or somebody is experiencing something similar, like what are some signs that they are in the Navy? By the way, we call it operating in the red, and it's like different levels of stress or different levels of life. And like red is this category that like sometimes you get there, you just don't want to stay too long. Mm-hmm. What are some things that started showing up where you were like, hey, I'm not tired anymore. Like this is not tired. This is something very different and very dangerous.
Justin starts complaining a lot. People around Justin going, are you okay?
Oof. Yeah.
Doesn't feel like, just those types of comments. And then when you have your family who knows you and loves you, and they're saying things like, why are you doing this? Is this the price you want to pay? Like, you're giving up a lot. And so you just, they say there's 2 traits of the most successful people in the world. Delayed gratification is number 1, and self-awareness is number 2. And I've never been good at self-awareness. Like, you got to hit me over the head with a sledgehammer to wake me up. Because when I'm like a dog on the back of a meat truck. When you give me a bone, you're not getting the bone back. So I had a couple bones, some targets, that I believed I had to chase down, and I'll go through some serious pain to bring that thing to life. And I think I'm just grateful that God woke me up. I have so many amazing friends. Kelly Knight, integrator of EOS Worldwide, she hammered me in a conversation just like what we're having here in a Zoom call. And Jill Young, she hammered me. My dad, my brother, my wife. Like, there was enough comments, and then my own head trash, listening to my own voice going, this seems way harder than it should be. And I'm helping other entrepreneurs crush it. I'm watching them 2x, 3x. Today, I talked to one of my clients that 5.5x his company in the past 8 years. Wow. And he has more time freedom. He has more mental freedom than he's ever had. And it's easy to him. And I'm like, a year ago, looking at my life going, nothing is easy. Everything feels hard and heavy. Yeah. And it's not easy. And I'm like, this is not what we call the EOS life. And so you just got to pay attention to the signs. I don't know if any of this is making sense.
It does. Because it sounds like sometimes those signs even come from, like, one of my biggest takeaways with what you just said is, like, it's not just about yourself seeing it, because it sounds like you had entered a different level of exhaustion, or like you were feeling different. And it was also the validation for you was like other people were now picking up on it, and you're like, there's something different this time.
And the truth is, there are some other people chattering in your ear, and they've been doing this for me for several years, but I had strong desire. And so I disregarded their noise making, because if it's not noise in my head, I'm not going to let anybody just talk me out of my freaking dream. Yeah. So I had to get to my low point where I'm like, something isn't right. Something's not working. This is John Maxwell says, you can pay too much for your dream. And when you're paying too much for your dream, that's when I started paying attention, going, I'm adding up some of these sacrifices that I was making, and I'm like, is this really worth it? And then when your head trash starts going there, for me, that's when I pay attention, because there's a lot of people will try to talk you off of doing amazing things because it's too hard. I don't want to be that guy. Oh yeah, I want to go with the Joneses and go with the easy path. That's just not my DNA. Yeah. I'm always going to be a redliner. I'm always going to run hard. I don't want to be talked down from running hard. Don't tell me to slow down. But when I'm in burnt mode, that's when that's the best way I can describe it, because I run hard. Yep. A lot of entrepreneurs run hard, but burnt hard is different than just running hard and being well rested and being able to get things done and not feeling like you're just I think I felt like a rat. I felt like a rat on a treadmill inside of an aquarium with the water rising, and I'm like just trying to grasp for air, and I'm like, this is not the picture Justin wants for the next 20 years of his life. Something's got to give.
Did you feel out of control at all? Like not out of control of like you physically or things like that, out of control as far as like life was being kind of dictated for you based upon all the things that you had going on? Or it was like, no, you were still choosing. It's just you were choosing all at one time and moving at 1,000 miles an hour.
100% choosing, and then getting your rear end hammered on two fronts and winning on one front. And you're paying the price of time and energy and lost relationship with your family and burning the candle on both ends and never feeling like you're caught up. This is the entrepreneurial journey. We go through phases, and even though you can be an expert implementer, a content coach business is very different than having 50 people that I oversee that are running a business for me. An implementer career, I'm a franchisee, that is very different than any one of my clients. This is a solopreneur business for the most part. I got an executive assistant. I've got a full-time team member in the Philippines that does graphic design. I'm a 1.5 person team outside of myself. And who does the sales and marketing? I do. Who does the integration of my own VTO? Well, I do. I'm not hiring an integrator for a small business like this. Now, if I want to go beyond this, I'll need an integrator. So, there's some people that would argue, that would hammer me over the head right now saying, Justin, you need an integrator right now. But, I don't feel the need to have an integrator for my EOS practice. 25 clients, great executive assistant. Jennifer's amazing. We're crushing it in terms of just the EOS business. It's when Justin layered on 2 other businesses and a big challenge and all kinds of things. Does that make sense?
It does. And I do want to come back to that in just a second, because you talked about 2 other businesses, and there's more than just that. Like you've had quite a few businesses over the years, and super interested to get into some of those topics. One thing I do want to talk about with the 10-year target, because this is such an interesting thread, and I just caught you at the right time, wrong time, right time. Who knows? But like,
right,
you going,
long time for me.
that might be it. Or right time for me and the audience, and
Yeah.
wrong time. But it's like, there's so many lessons to extract from this. And one of the things that I find fascinating is you changed your 10-year target. And, a part of this is, as companies evolve and companies pivot and companies do other things, and some companies like reach their 10-year target in 3 years and have to redevelop the whole thing. You redid your 10-year target. What lessons did you learn from that initial 10-year target that you carried forward into this kind of new vision?
So I think I'm still in the middle of it, to be honest. Like, because I just sold the company in last October. There's still my rear end is tagged to a couple things still from a liability standpoint. And I told my team, I'm not doing, they pushed me like, Justin, can you commit to not doing anything new this next year? Like in 26, can you just be an implementer? And so I'm like, that's it. I promise you guys, we're just going to do this. We're going to kind of lock in here for a minute. And so that's the mode I'm in. And I'm in the middle of developing my next 10-year target. And I've got a green light. Listen, because I'm a solopreneur, a small team here, I got a green light from my executive assistant and a green light from my wife. I got one idea that I'm working on.
Oh, no.
No. And I've gotten a green light from 2 ladies that are like high fact finder, high follow through. And we're just throwing we call it a bullet, just a little bullet, not a cannonball, cannonballs. Jim Collins talks about fire bullets and cannonballs. He's like, the companies that struggle, the people that struggle are when they just fire massive bullets, lots of time, lots of money, lots of resource, and it doesn't produce results. So I'm firing a little bullet, ping, miss, ping, ping, ping. And then all of a sudden I hit. So right now they've given me the green light. I've been working on this project for probably 4 years, and they gave me a green light to push the needle a little bit more this year, just a small investment. And so I'm in the middle of establishing a new 10-year target with 2 things in mind, but both of them, here's the key point, Ryan, they're both in my sweet spot. They are both about me delivering content as a speaker, trainer, coach, facilitator, implementer. It's me doing what I do best. It's me not trying to be like one of those guys and have a business that's scaling and growing. It's me just developing content and igniting and fueling people with tools and disciplines to help them succeed. My target that I'm building is 100% dialed in to my unique ability, to my mission, to my calling, where I can directly tell you the other 2 businesses I had nothing to do with my unique ability. They had nothing to do with my core passion, because my target was about generosity. I just had a giving goal. So everything about that past target was just make more money, not necessarily have more impact. It was become more generous. And that target put me into a zone where I was striving way beyond what I should. And now this one, I have the freedom. I mean, I can't tell you how much freedom I feel like I have. I have the freedom to be Justin Maust. Like on this podcast, I'm still living out my purpose. Some people are looking at all my mistakes going, boy, he sure is passionate about all those jacked up mistakes. But I'm igniting and fueling people, hopefully with some lessons of don't do this or do this. But that's me in my zone. Does that make sense?
It does. And like, would you say that the money aspect, and I realize we're talking about giving, but there's a quantifiable thing of money, of like chasing money versus changing that to chasing impact. Like, is that a core difference that you're seeing through this evolution?
Man, because it's so much in my wiring, I feel like everything I've done has had crazy impact. I've wanted to impact people's lives. That's a way of how Justin shows up. That's always been the base case. But doing that through EOS and then taking the dollars I generated and starting another company and trying to replicate and multiply the revenue generation. And that company went from 0 to 4.8 million in like 6 or 7 years. They grew it 60% a year for 7 years.
Wow.
So it wasn't like they did nothing, but the tax that I paid, the toll I paid, the liability and the weight that I was trying to shoulder, where I couldn't be laser focused. My head was over here. My heart was being pulled over here, and it was derailing me. And evenings, I can't tell you how many phone calls I was taking in the evenings, not being with my family. And so I was just paying too much. So I felt like I've always had impact as an implementer. But I bet you there's some of my clients that could say, yeah, I noticed Justin was a little bit more tired. Yep. And so did they take a back seat? Not in my heart, but in my capacity, probably.
No.
And so to answer your question, that, you know, I didn't just chase dollars. I was having impact, but I was trying to multiply whatever I was getting revenue wise. Let's put that back into this. And some of that, I just lost my butt on a couple of ideas. Like, yeah. It's when you lose, you have to work really hard to lose as bad as what I lost. And that helps wake you up sometimes. Like, dang, that was one of the ideas was a complete fundraiser. It was the right ideal. It was the right heart. Totally flopped, lost $250,000 on that one idea. And it was supposed to be a fundraiser for nonprofit. Instead, it was a $250,000 loss to my business. And, you know, if you could have seen the conversation at the end of that project, my wife and I talking, and she put her hand on my shoulder with tears rolling down because we both volunteered our time. And she's like, Justin, if you would have just been an implementer, just stayed doing that and didn't entertain this other thing, she's like, we actually could have written a check for $250,000 and not had to spend any of this time. Like, that was so painful, Ryan. Like, I'm like, oh, I never want to have that happen in my life again. Those are the kinds of things that you experience when you're striving too hard for something that maybe you weren't designed for.
Yep. I resonate with this so deeply. Like to your point of like just investing back and trying to multiply. So one thing that doesn't get publicized, I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but my last company, Hunt to Killer, we grew and scaled very, very fast. And so we went from 0 to 55 million in about 4.5 years. What I don't share most of the time, outside of like the accolades that have happened, was the year that we hit 55 million, we lost 5 million. Like we were pushing the organization so hard and we were investing so heavily back into growth and infrastructure and everything else. And people don't see that. Like the headline you just gave there of like a company that just scaled drastically to 5 million over a very short period of time. Like people hear that and they just hear the top line. They don't hear about the blood, sweat, tears, the losses, like what it takes to actually do that. I resonate deeply with what you're talking about here.
Yeah, so I just poured the gasoline on the ideas. I had Rackley Restoration. Yep. That was up and scaling. It was starting to get profitable. Then I bought a franchise called Nutrition HQ. My son was going to run that. It didn't work well for us because I'm not a retail guy. And I had zero capacity to learn retail. Trusted my son to run it. And we knew it was bleeding out when I bought it. So I thought, oh, good deal. We can solve problems. We can implement EOS and we'll turn it around. Well, you do need a leader to have capacity to go solve those problems. Yep. And so that was a mistake. And at the exact same time I did that, I did this nonprofit fundraising challenge. And so 2 big events, the purchase of the one company, the idea of this big fundraiser. We gave a Corvette away. There were so many cool things about it. But at the end of the day, you know, you want to look at results and say, did we move the needle towards the target? Yeah. And I'm like, man, I didn't move the needle towards the target. I burned out a ton of energy. I had to fire my entire team that was putting that project together because there was no gas in my tank. And then I'm the last guy that wants to go fire everybody because of a one failed small project. Justin, can't you get over that? I was burnt.
Yep.
I was burnt. And so I'm just hoping not too many people see this podcast so that nobody knows. Totally kidding.
That I paid for that car.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and this is like personal curiosity and also like I have this, I'm really good at kind of the 0 to 1, and then I become a detriment to organizations like right after EOS implementation. Now, granted, with Talent Harbor, we self-implemented right out of the gate, and so like we already kind of had this going. But it's like once an organization is getting to a place of where we're starting to place leaders, like my fast mind and moving and breaking stuff generally breaks the company. And so I've had this like thought of like, well, maybe every 2 to 3 years, I'll start a new company, help it get to product market fit, and then take a step back. Mm-hmm. Like, was there an opportunity with some of these companies before sale, like just to place an integrator and get out of the day to day, or is that just theory and really hard in practice?
We improved the company year over year by 25%. The one that I sold, that was kind of failing. We made improvements. If I would have kept on that bandwagon, we would have solved the problems. I'm convinced of that. And yes, we maybe would have hired some people, but at the core of what I did is I'm a faith-based guy, Ryan. So when I have problems, I go to God with those problems. And I was whining and complaining like humans do. And I just came to the realization that I needed to stop trying my own way of getting there. Like God's ideas are better than my ideas. And so I just need to say yes to his ideas. And it was his idea. He's the one that said, well, you said everything is hard and heavy. Where is it hard and heavy? And I was saying, well, I have this giving goal, Lord. I'm trying to, honor you with that. And so I got these other businesses and one's winning, one's losing. And this fundraiser was a complete flop. And I'm just complaining. He's like, well, whose idea was the giving idea? And he says, well, where is it easy and hard? Where is it easy and light? And I was saying, well, Lord, when I'm coaching, so this is just an internal dialogue Justin Maust is having with God. And I just recognize that, whoa, I'm not doing what I think the reason why I'm on the planet to do. So stop doing that. That was basically the assumption that I pulled from him, was like, well, if this is easy and light, Justin, why don't you do what I've gifted you to do and stop trying to do it your own way? Yep. And I'm like, okay, I give up. I'm going to stop. And it was literally, that's how it happened. So some people would call that a clarity break. And that's totally fine. It's good. But trust me, I've got my journal and I take this baby with me everywhere. And there was lots of clarity as I'm whining and complaining and processing and looking at reality and looking at results and feeling burnt. And I mean, had to be 100 data points that was like telling me, duh, you're running too hard and you're running in the wrong direction, or you're split attention. Yeah. And so less is more. Take my own medicine that I teach my clients. I'm a 9 quick start visionary. I fall in love with my ideas like any other visionary. And the one thing that I will give credit to my mindset or myself is I've got a brand called Success Loves Discipline. And I knew, don't let go of what you're really good at to do some other wild-haired idea. So that's where I got burnt. As I was doing my unique given skills, implementing EOS, speaking, training, coaching, and I was doing all these other things, and all those other things just was enough weight to be the straw that broke the camel's back for Justin, that I'm like, I'm supposed to do this differently. So I surrendered all those things, gave up on the 10-year target, and I'm recalibrating as we speak.
Interesting. I did, Rodney Mueller put together an Artist Way cohort about a year or two ago. I think he's still like, he's like doing these every 3 months now. And the biggest takeaway for me was journaling. And I had no idea how big of an impact that could have. And basically the whole premise was you just free write 3 pages every morning. And so I would wake up, at 5:30 instead of 6, and I would spend 30 minutes just free writing. It was game changer. Like getting head trash out before the day started was crazy. And so it's interesting to hear that like a part of your breaks, your journal, your pen, and it's down on paper.
Ryan, I have probably 40 of these at one point in my life. That was how I won the day. I was dialing in my agenda every day, and I was tracking reality, because that brand, Success Loves Discipline, I just talked about, prior to 2000, what year would have it been? 2012. Massive procrastinator. So journaling and capturing and having an agenda and getting my thoughts out and seeing reality never was a thing for Justin. One ball of energy, could never follow through, just procrastinate like crazy, and a ball of energy just spinning out of control until 2012. And I finally got to the point where I got to get some traction in my life. And when you have a spouse that you've been married to for 16 years and she looks at you in the eyeballs with tears rolling down her eyes saying, I love you, but something has to change. And you're not the man I thought you'd be. You're not the husband I thought you'd be. You're not the father I thought you'd be. That's when you wake up and, you feel like your best friend just stabbed you from the front, and you're super grateful because she's dead right. And if you want to be the man, the husband, the father that your best friend thinks you should be, and you agree with her, then you will start changing the way you think and the way you do. And I went on a massive mission in 2012. I didn't actually become an implementer until 2017, but the journey of Justin Maust kind of getting to where I'm at today, man, I've fallen in love with discipline. So part of that burnt out is I was unrelenting, committed to owning the few disciplines that was providing for my family, providing fuel, allowing me to have impact. I just layered on like multiple too many things to create a series of burnout that, I've never been that burnt in my life.
All right, quick break, friends. Do you find it impossible to hire and retain top sales talent? Or worse, are you paying insane recruiter fees who are all using outdated hiring processes? Yeah, I was too. At Hunt to Killer, we were spending hundreds of thousands on recruiter agency fees. And after I sold that company in 2025, I started Talent Harbor. And the whole vision here was to make sales recruiting accessible to small and medium-sized businesses, because the organizations that can hire and retain world-class people are the ones that ultimately win. Most organizations rely on things like ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn, and they get hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes. But we find that the best salespeople are already perfectly placed somewhere else. And that's why our approach is to go after them. And we do that through a business model called recruiting as a service. We do not charge commissions. We do not have success fees. We don't have contracts. We don't have long-term engagements. And we become an extension of your team as expert sales recruiters. If you're tired of the same old recruiters and want to actually grow your sales team, check us out at talentharbor.com. That's Talent Harbor, TALENTHARBOR.com. Let's get your next sales superstar hired.
What does discipline mean to you?
John Maxwell says the secret to your success is found in your daily agenda. And so when you think of a whole life success, it's not one discipline, but it's usually a handful of disciplines that if you own them, the turtle wins the race. It's the incremental daily commitment to a few of those core disciplines that will allow you to have the greatest impact that you desire in your life, whole life success. And so discipline is just that, finding those. The reason why I say success loves discipline is I don't know of someone that would say they're not interested in success. It's just that we define success differently. But what I do know is success loves discipline. So us humans, for us to have any of that success, that whole life fulfillment, that massive impact, the bank account, the abs, the whatever you deem success, there's a handful of disciplines that are tied to every one of those success buckets. And so discipline is your willingness to own that daily grind, day in, day out, behind closed doors, and you are unrelenting to just live your life that way. Jocko Willink, success equals freedom, or discipline equals freedom. Those are all real. I think Zig Ziglar said something about motivation. People are making fun of him. Motivation doesn't really last. He goes, I agree. He goes, I feel the same way about showers. That's why I have to take showers daily. The discipline of feeding your mind the right stuff to get up every day doing the thing. The discipline of brushing your teeth. The discipline of working out. The discipline of putting the right food in your body. All of us know how to be healthy. Success, like healthy. We just don't do what we know. Most people in their business, they know the things that their business should be doing, but they haven't fallen in love with the disciplines that actually will produce those sustainable results.
That's powerful. God, that's powerful. When you think about, because like a part of this is, you talked about leading up to the burnout. It's like looking at the disciplines, like your list was just too long. And so when you think about like the things that you value today, or how that list has probably been cold a little bit, and at the same time maybe reprioritized, like what do your disciplines look like today?
So I have this model, this thing I was telling you about that I've been given a little green light to just
a little bullet, little ping.
I'm just firing bullets. I'm trying to live this stuff personally. So for me, I'm looking for whole life success. So again, everybody that's listening to this, you have to define success your own way. I'm not telling you what success is. I'm simply saying for Justin Maust, one of the disciplines is I've got to figure out hearing God. If I'm a faith-based person, you probably should spend time with God. So for me, one of my disciplines is how do I hear God? And then I'm looking at vision. So I have vision, health, relationships, my career, my calling. I have my money and I have my time. And now I'm looking at, well, what are all the disciplines that I need to own to live intentionally? Intentionally living day in and day out is going to produce a result in my life that's way better than unintentionally living.
Nope.
Unintentional living is not going to produce the results that you get excited about in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So intentional living is, okay, what are the areas of my life where I want to freaking crush it? And that will be the same when I'm 50, 60, 70, or 80. Where do I want to win down the road? And so I'm crafting a vision right now, Ryan, that kind of incorporates all those major areas. And what I probably did to burn out is I indexed heavy on the career and the impact. And I sacrificed so many of these other key components that are core to Justin Maust living a life of whole success. Like whole life success means intentionally factoring in, thinking, journaling, am I winning the relationship game? What relationships matter most? Am I winning in those areas? What about my health? I have friends that are in their 70s and they can't get on the ground and roll around with their grandkids or great grandkids. They don't have the health for that. And yet my dad, he's out last night at 75 cutting huge trees down and doing ridiculous things because he's owned his health in a way that some people haven't. There's going to be, what does Jim Rohn say? There's one of two pains that we're all going to have in life. The pain of regret or the pain of discipline. Regret weighs in tons.
Yep.
Discipline weighs in ounces. Discipline is free to use and excuses are free to give. Holy mother, what do you want?
Yep.
So you asked me, what are some of my disciplines? I'm crafting some disciplines around those key areas of my life that I'm going to suck at golf the rest of my life, Ryan.
I've thrown the bag and I'm with you.
Because it's not connected to whole life success for Justin Maust.
Yeah.
But being a better husband, being a son, a father, and being a son to my mom and dad, those things matter to me. Those are relationships that are core. And so I'm looking at those areas of my life and I'm saying, well, what does a win look like? You have to clarify the win. And that better show up on a personal VTO somehow, somewhere. And so my career is going to be more right-sized. My impact as a speaker, trainer, coach is going to be more right-sized than like indexing all into that one area and not winning in some of these other areas. I don't know if that's answering your question, but that's my best answer.
It does. And like when it sounds like you're almost thinking about this in like buckets now. And when you think about it, it was like when you talk about over indexing, it's like one bucket was way too full and everything else was way too empty.
Yeah.
And the intentionality that you're speaking about is like now, and to me, I don't hear you saying it's equal weight anymore. I hear you saying like you are very intentional about looking at that bucket and seeing how much it should be filled, and then kind of going each one.
Yeah.
Is this like, how do you, in practice, how do you do this? And I'm asking for very, very, very selfish reasons, where it's like, do you use a calendar and do you color code stuff on calendars to make sure, or is it like you look at what you're doing for the day and you make sure that you're filling those? I've tried this so many times and I feel like I keep defaulting back into like the professional and the career and the chase and all these different things. Mm-hmm. What sort of tactics are you using to like break those types of patterns?
Number one, I'm giving Justin Maust a lot of grace to just evaluate and soak in life. What do I want? I'm talking to God about this. I'm talking to my wife, and we are recalibrating. We're recalibrating. So I am not going to just go and dial in a whole bunch of things again and put myself right back into crazy mode. And so I'm giving myself some time. I'm evaluating it all. I'm trying to live these disciplines or practices that I'm talking about. And so eventually, I mean, right now what I'm doing is I'd rather take action today than have a perfect plan tomorrow. So I'm not letting that perfect plan stop me from owning some of the disciplines today. So here's a couple of disciplines I'm trying to own. In my business, I want a certain number of session days. So I'm making sure I do enough biz dev and marketing and serving my clients to where I have the right number of clients to do all the things I want to do. So that's in the career bucket. Right now, my wife and I are building out a vision, and we're recalibrating that vision to really help us get where we think we want to go. And one of the disciplines that my wife and I have, because we're faith-based, is we want to pray together. And there was a time in my life where I asked my wife, this was 16 years in, we've been married 30 years now.
Wow,
I said,
congrats.
honey, what would be one thing that you just wish we'd do together? And you know what she told me? This is embarrassing, but she's like, I just wish we'd pray together. Holy mother, if we're faith-based people, shouldn't we be doing that? And I could count on my hand how many times we intentionally, beyond like praying for a meal, that we actually did that back 15 years ago. So this year we've got a goal, which is a discipline that we want to spend a certain number of sessions, 30-minute sessions, where we actually pray together. I think it's 15 or 30 minutes. And we have a certain number we want to hit. So let's just call it weekly or bi-weekly. But we want to be intentional about that. That's helping me in that relationship component. We love, Jenny and I both are fitness like junkies. We love fitness and challenges. And so I love hitting the gym. It's a stress reliever for me. So I'm not perfectly measuring that, but I'm checking the box that I'm trying to get in the gym 5 days a week or go work out 5 days a week. That's me. Some people are like, oh my gosh, just 2, man. 2 is good. Great. That you got to figure out your health journey. So that's a discipline that I'm owning. Clarity breaks, taking time to think. I'm trying to take a clarity break once a week. That's a discipline to help me stay centered. Because when I take clarity break, it's not just about my business. It's about my whole life. So I'm able to kind of get high level, zoom out of body experience and look at my life saying, how you doing, man? Are you burning out? Are you aware of what's going on? Looking at my whole life, looking at time and money and career and all the stuff. So I feel like I'm more focused now than I think I've ever been. And I think I'm adding more value wherever Justin shows up now than I ever have. And so, there's some value in introspection and giving yourself some grace and settling. So there's clarity breaks are a discipline. I said number of session days is a discipline. One discipline that I'm working through, Gino hammers on this in his book Shine, and that is doing a daily agenda every day the night before. And I have struggled with, I believe in this, and I have an agenda for the week. Every week the agenda is laid out, but I haven't filled in some of the extra spots. And so I'm giving myself grace right now, but I think there's room for me to be more intentional. And some of that is putting rest in there. And I suck at putting rest intentionally in my agenda. And so that's an area that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to beat myself up over this. There's no point in that. I'm trying to do my very best. But intentionally planning for rest is I think my next horizon.
Hmm. I love that. What a transformation. And you're talking about this. You're not only able to like allocate time, but you feel like the time that you're allocating is like exponentially more valuable or effective now into these areas. It- and earlier you had talked about almost like the deletion, like, and it wasn't deleting, but it was selling businesses off, stop doing this. So like, have you felt that by stopping doing things, you've actually been able to move faster, or better, or like, how do you reconcile that?
Have you ever talked to someone and you knew that they weren't fully there?
That's most people when they talk to me and I'm not doing a podcast. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was doing so many session days and I was running so hard in these other businesses that I was and I would say a lot of people didn't notice this, but I felt it. I noticed it. I knew there was more in the tank I could give someone, but because I'm just unable to, I was burnt. I didn't have extra juice to give them. Well, if I am giving more juice to every session today than I was a year and a half ago. Most of my clients don't know that because, you know, they were rating sessions really well and I was running hard. I'm always intense, but there's a level of depth that I think I'm attacking their business issues with that I didn't have capacity for when I was running so hard. There's a level of depth that I'm attacking my own life with, where when I was running at breakneck speed with no capacity, feeling burnt, I didn't give a shit. Like, who cares? I don't got energy for that. I don't got heart for that. I missed out on some meaningful conversations. Does that I'm trying to make sense, but me being more fully present is adding more value wherever I go because I don't have so many commitments that need a little piece of me. Now they're grabbing a piece of my heart here and a piece of my heart. Pretty soon I got nothing to give and I'm depleted. I'm empty. And so I'd rather delete the things out of my life so I can be fully here than allow all the things to delete me.
And if other folks don't understand, and maybe it's just dynamics, like for the last 60 days, I've been going through some radical, maybe even 90 days, radical transformation. And with that, like being present. And what's been really interesting to me, so I have 4 kids total. 3 kids are down here in LA. The oldest 21-year-old stayed in Seattle when we moved down here last year. And being more present, I've been in more tune with my kids. And what's been like almost kind of heartbreaking for me is I've been able to identify like when I don't do the right things or when I say the wrong things, because I'm more in tune to like their reaction or to like the subsequent or the ripple effects or whatever it may be. And like I've been in this weird journey where now I've been thinking about, like, I've been not unplugged, but my mind has been elsewhere for the last 15 years. And like, how many times did I do things not even thinking without being in tune, where like I didn't say the right things or do the right things? And it's not to say that I'm perfect, because I'm still not doing it, but I know when I don't, and then I can either address it or I have the ability to take action, and then I didn't. So there's been some weird stuff that has been coming lately from like a being present that you're talking about.
Yeah, I've been a guy of massive action. And so doing is a skill that I have. I'm a worker, I'm a grinder. I love helping people. So I'll go to bat for people every day of the week. If they got issues, I want to be helpful. Yeah. And so now I'm like, by me having a little bit more time capacity, by me having a little bit more freedom, I'm actually going harder in session with clients. I'm actually making bigger moves with my family than maybe ever before. And it's not perfect. It is not perfect. Still learning, still a hot mess over here, but I'm better with this hot mess than I was a year ago. That other hot mess was taking me out.
Yep. I feel you. And like, I didn't even know where I was a hot mess until like really kind of peeling back the onion. You talked a little bit about your unique abilities and how like this kind of transformation has really kind of focused you on like really leaning into your unique abilities. Did you just like wake up one day and journal and be like, these are my unique abilities? Like, how did you how did you come to define your unique abilities?
Again, I bring my faith into this. Everybody has to figure out their own way of finding those. But I feel like when I was young, I had really impressed upon me that I was supposed to speak for God. And never did I feel like I'm supposed to be a pastor. Never did feel that. Still don't. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that nugget and I'm going to lean into that. Because if you're faith-based, you want to be obedient. So I'm taking steps down this path. And when a door opened for me to speak, I would do it. And I started to get kind of good at it. I got feedback. I got some pats on the back. I got some people commenting on, you're good at putting words together, or you emote and I feel your passion and I resonate with that. And so I started doing more of it, but I never made it a career. And so I didn't really land on this until deep conviction in 2012 when I started my own leadership training company. And I said, you know what? I think I learned how to do Edward Jones. I learned how to do financial advising. I learned how to start a nonprofit with my brother. I learned how to do a few other things, but I've never fully committed to a skill set that I think that I'm passionate about. I think I'm good at, and I think I add a lot of value to people when I do it. And so I struck a chord. I went out on my own, starting that leadership training company in 2012. And that was my mental conviction, my commitment that I'm going to hone this skill of speaking, training, coaching. Let's see if I really am good at it. Will people actually pay me for leadership content? And so went and got certified with the John Maxwell team, started developing my own curriculum. And you know what? People started paying me. And locally, I hosted the largest leadership event in Northern Indiana. I'd have 1,500 people coming to my event, coming to the stage where I fill the stage with amazing speakers, John Maxwell, Chris McChesney from the 4 Disciplines of Execution, Eric Thomas, Darren Hardy from the Compound Effect. I mean, all kinds of big names across the country. And it was my event. Yeah. And we've never had a leadership event that big in my region. And so you start taking steps towards where you think you have some skill. And we call it core focus, right? With EOS. Yep. It's what you're deeply passionate about, what you think your superior skills are, what you think you can be best in the world at or best in the region at, and then an economic engine. Does it pay the bills? And so I started honing in 2012, started testing, is this really a unique ability? And I've never stopped growing in that area. I'm so freaking jacked about doing that today. And I'm a guy that gets bored easy. And since 2012, it's 2026 now, I feel like I'm just getting started at learning how to communicate and learning how to add value and learning how to light the room up and learning how to be a great coach and implementer. It's still fun to me. And so I think, yes, there's lots of discipline in honing your craft, but I love it. I know I'm wired for it. I feel like it's a calling. And so, long answer, go take some steps. Go test some of that deeply passionate about, unique given skills. Like this is an area that I think I can be really good at. And it's a superior skill out of all the skills I have acquired in 51 years on planet Earth. This is something that I think I can really add value. And is it paying you money? There's a lot of people that have some skill, but it ain't paying them. Like that's not what I would call a unique ability. It's not from a Jim Collins good to great mindset. It's got to provide the economic engine. Then you have those 3 things combined. I think now you have your hedgehog concept. You have what your personal unique ability is. And now you just hunker down and leverage that skill. Maxwell has a great line. Don't send your ducks to Eagle School.
Yeah.
So what I think I felt is when I had those other businesses, I was a Mallard duck. Nothing wrong with a Mallard duck, but a Mallard duck is not going to be an eagle. Don't ever try to make that.
Yep.
And so I have my unique skill set. I'm trying to become an eagle when it comes to speaking, training, coaching. And I was outside of my element. doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing.
How'd you know? How'd you know that you weren't, because like the businesses were growing, at least one of them, like some of the, at least the external validation signs would have been there saying like, hey, this is working. Like, how did you come to self-discover, like maybe, or I am the Mallard duck in this, even with some proof points that, there was some success?
All of the education I've been given before, my faith, my wife, all the people, the burnt out feeling, all of those things, the couple failures I had, and then where I was really winning. Yeah. Where I was really winning is my unique ability. Everywhere else, it wasn't producing the kind of results that this easy and light work should be doing. Like, it's not easy and light, like it's not hard. There's so much effort put in, but the kind of results I'm getting being a speaker, trainer, coach, being an implementer is exponentially more powerful in terms of results for my clients and results for Justin Maust. Nothing else that I have been doing was producing those kind of results. There's data. Yeah, it was successful, but not nearly as successful. I mean, yes, we grew 67% a year for 7 years. The profitability on that, I mean, I can combine all 7 years that didn't equal last year's profit in my EOS practice. Yep. So return on time, return on dollar, return on effort, not there.
Yep.
So I'm going to double down on John Maxwell says, don't let your weakness overshadow your strength. But he also says, invest into your strengths. Yep. Find where you're good and double down on those things. The problem is when you get good, you think you can maybe do other things and be just as good over there. And I've just, got my butt kicked enough times and got burnt out enough times where I'm like, maybe I should stay in my lane, bro. Maybe I should stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And so that's for me. Everyone else is going to find probably a different way, but trial and error is a great teacher. And when you get thumped on the head enough times with a ball peen hammer, you're like, I don't want that again. I'd like to learn by watching you fail, but sometimes I have to learn by watching me fail.
Yeah. that one's going in the quote book. What last unscripted question now, then the last two just quick sign-offs. As a part of this like transformation, are you redoing your vision board?
I'm going to redo the vision board. Yeah. There's no question about that. I'm keeping that because I'm still inspired by those generous people. I still believe there is some type of rocket ship, but it's going to have a different outcome, maybe a different result. But I still am the guy that wants to go beyond what I think is possible. That's still there's so much value in this to me still. But, on that vision board are some targets that are hidden that nobody can see. So I'm going to change some of that, and I might change a little bit more. But yes, the short answer, I'm going to have a new vision board, and it's going to go somewhere else on one of these walls. But this is going to be an awesome reminder for me of this still matters, and it's a great teacher of, hey, remember when you picked the target that wasn't in your sweet spot?
When you get the new vision board, let's do a part 2 of this and just dive deep into, because this transformation, it's almost like I want to talk to you in 5 years and see what transpired along this journey and along this change.
I take that challenge. This would be fun. Like the compound effect of a human just trying to stay more dialed in and making those incremental improvements over time. Boy, I hope we have ridiculous results in 5 years from this level of focus.
I don't think you have to do much hoping. I mean, you are insanely disciplined, and I think the transformations and where you're just an outsider. I think there's going to be magic and fireworks here.
I hope. I'll take that. Yes, I'm with you.
We didn't even get much into. We'll do a part 2 anyhow for the EOS journey. So you are an expert EOS implementer, which we barely scratched the surface on that. What do you look for in clients? Do you stay regionally focused? What does a great client look like for you?
I gotta love them. My wife even said this to me. I'm trying to get more local clients. I want clients to come to me because I don't want to be on the road and traveling. But my wife said something. She goes, Justin, if you have a local client that sucks the life out of you, she goes, you're miserable and it's a drag on your life. She goes, it's good when you find a client that you love, like that you want to go to bat for. When you love the people in that room, it's less about the type of business or the niche. I'm agnostic to, it's like, do I love these people? Am I freaking jacked about where they're trying to go? Then sign me up to help them master these tools to help them gain massive traction. Like that's when I'm in a room with people that I want to go to bat for, that I want to help them break through their ceilings and I want to help them own their pain and get real and raw. Then I love serving those teams. So they come in all different shapes and forms. I mean, I've got teams that are, 1,500 people big, and I've got teams that are 10 people big, but one common denominator, I love the people in the room.
Love it. Love it. All right. Someone just listened to this and they're like, I want to jump on the Justin train here. What is the easiest or best way for them to get a hold of you?
You can reach out to me at justin.maust at EOS Worldwide. That's my email address. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know my LinkedIn handle, but Justin Maust. If you see a face that looks like this, you'll find me.
I love it. Justin, thank you. So you did not disappoint. I knew that this was going to be full of energy. I had no idea which path we were going to take, but there were just so many nuggets catching you at a period in your life where you're like going through this.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to in real time extract the lessons that you're learning. And I'm sure it's going to help other people. If nobody else, it's going to help me. So I appreciate you, brother.
I hope that this was valuable in some way, because that's the only reason I spent the time. I'm like, I heard enough about you, Ryan. And I'm like, if I can be helpful to Ryan, I'm willing to give it an hour. And I hope if someone's listening, I hope there was value added to you too.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks again, Justin. I appreciate the time.
Man. We'll see you.